Does Hollywood have an isekai problem? Minecraft the movie comes out April 2025, which brings up all other such films released in recent memory. Nearly a genre at this point, the rise of game adaptation movies over the last several years seems to point to a common denominator anime fans probably recognize as the isekai formula. Of course, isekai is the anime genre where some poor protagonist gets ripped out of their poor life, yes, sometimes by Truck-kun, and thrown into a magical world. Well, it feels like that's also the go-to formula for many of these adaptations now. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense. Gamers want to be transported into another world. That's kind of part of the appeal of playing video games, and even before them, all games in general. While the formula is a valid approach, is it becoming a little bit of an obsession? It's not that the isekai trend is anything new. It's not, but it has become more of a go-to trick for nearly the last decade. The original Jumanji with Robin Williams, like many other movies, used the isekai mode of thrusting either the narrative into the world or the world into the narrative. But with the 2017 reboot, in hindsight, it feels like the beginning of a repetitive span in Hollywood. With Jumanji's Welcome to the Jungle's big success at just short of $1 billion, it spawned a sequel. The isekai game adaptation looked like it could stick. And then the genre reached a financial peak with the Super Mario movie in 2023, which grossed approximately $1.36 billion, one of the highest amounts among movies made in the last 5 years. Along with those, there have been others, but ultimately it kind of feels like studios are leaning into this formula for every video game that they can get their hands on. And the Minecraft movie On the Way, it begs the question whether or not this is a healthy cycle. But before we dive into this any further, if you enjoy a blend of anime, gaming, and film analysis, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any upcoming videos from me. Now, let's jump down into the wondrous world of isekai. Far from a modern convention, the term isekai dates back to ancient Japanese folktales that can still be imparted to this day. One of the prominent tales from those times in Japan is a story about a guy named Urashima Taro, who's a fisherman that saves a small turtle that was being tormented by a group of children, returning the little one to the sea. A couple days later, a giant turtle visits him while he's fishing to inform him that the turtle he rescued was the daughter of the Sea Emperor, meaning he is invited to the palace to be thanked in person. So he travels to this undersea world and is treated well, enjoying the views from beneath the surface. But after a few days, he wishes to return home. So the Princess Turtle gives him a jeweled box that he is not to open, which will keep him safe as the large turtle gives him a ride back to his village. Upon arriving, however, Taro finds that 300 years has passed while he was gone. This shocks him, causing a little bit of a brain fart that makes him open the box, resulting in his rapid aging. It makes sense that a story of being transported to a new world in the sea would be such a long-standing favorite for an island nation. That doesn't mean isekai is strictly Japanese. It's a common narrative device. The story of Urashima Taro, with its rapid acceleration of time in the protagonist's absence, may remind those who took American literature classes of Rip Van Winkle by Washington Irving. Western literature, in particular children's literature, really popularized this device across the United States and Europe. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan, and The Chronicles of Narnia all made a lasting impact, defining a sort of portal genre. Yet, it's an approach to storytelling that's most associated with Japan, anime, and manga. After all, isekai is defined in the Oxford English Dictionary as a Japanese genre of science or fantasy fiction, featuring a protagonist who's transported to or reincarnated in a different, strange, or unfamiliar world. Obviously, much of the reason for that is because it's a Japanese word that at its core means another world.
but also, it's the Japanese media that has done the best job of exposing modern audiences to the narrative format, at least more recently than the late 19th and early 20th century children's books.
The 1979 novel Warrior from Another World is widely regarded as one of the earliest iterations of the Japanese isekai that we know today. And then from left field, there was the Christian Broadcasting Network's Superbook in 1981, which is an animated series in anime style about a kid named Chris Pieper, who discovers the Superbook that transports him and his friends to the time and place of various events in the Old and New Testament.
While that could be considered the first animated series, it's more correct to give that moniker to the 1983 series, Aura Battler Dunbine, where the protagonist is transported to a fantasy world resembling medieval Europe after falling down a well.
And from there, fans benefited from series like Inuyasha and films like Spirited Away, which beautifully emulate the use of isekai. They and other works embodied the themes that made the Isekai-ification something that enhanced the artistic integrity of the work. Such themes include travel and self-discovery, reincarnation, and perhaps most of all, escapism, often from the modern world. Even before a film like Spirited Away, arguably the first anime film to be deemed an isekai is, funnily enough, Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach from 1986, which really relates well to the video topic. In it, Mario is playing video games one night, and out of the screen pops Princess Peach, who drops a necklace before King Koopa, popularly known today as Bowser, takes her back and forces her into marriage. Mario tells Luigi about it all at their grocery store, before a dog takes off with the necklace, beckoning the brothers to follow and eventually fall down a pipe into Mushroom Kingdom that's been ravaged. Mario and Luigi save the town, interrupt the marriage, and Mario defeats King Koopa. The necklace is returned to Peach, which causes her fiancé to be brought back to form, so they could be married. Mario is naturally just a wee bit sad about that, but he does offer to help if they ever needed it before returning home. As much as that film feels like a candidate to deviate from the use of isekai themes, the theme of escapism plays a key role in the storyline, especially with the finite length of the escape, with the story ending with the brothers' return home to their own world. Moreover, like the journey into the other world, the infatuation and desire to court Princess Peach was an escape for the mind that proved momentary. Silly as it may sound, diving into an analysis of this movie, Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach was a great example of isekai. And, as you know, there have been many other examples as well. The basic essence of the entire genre is built around a simple concept. Take a regular character, throw them into a completely new reality, and watch them either thrive, struggle, or immediately die and reset. And that concept keeps being put to use for movie protagonists centered around games and game worlds. Take 2023's The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Mario is just a regular plumber in Brooklyn who started a business with his brother. Then, trying to fix a city water main leak, he and Luigi get sucked into a pipe, with Mario waking up in the Mushroom Kingdom. No explanation, no warning, just new world, new rules, good luck. And then there's Sonic the Hedgehog, which does the opposite. Reverse isekai. Instead of a human being transported into a magical world, Sonic gets booted out of his, landing in a small Montana town. And of course, we've got the upcoming Minecraft movie. And from the looks of it, this will be more or less following the Hollywood isekai formula, which seems to always include Jack Black in there for some reason. Now, if we're being honest, we can recognize that isekai feels like the right choice for these game movies, because playing games is already simulating an isekai experience. Every time you boot up a game, you're stepping into another world. You're Link. You're Master Chief. You're some poor soul in Elder Ring with no idea what's going on. You're not exactly you. Leaving your world behind, something immediately wondrous becomes within reach. That's nearly the entire appeal. So, when Hollywood leans into isekai for game adaptations, there is some merit for it. It can mirror the player experience. It also gives filmmakers an easy way to onboard non-gamers, which feels very RPG-like. Ultimately, that also feels like a source of stagnation that may be causing these movies to feel the same. In the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Mario gets dropped into Mushroom Kingdom and has to figure out how everything works, as though you're playing a Super Mario Bros. Game. For Minecraft, if the movie follows this typical format, we're probably going to see someone punch trees, panicking when night falls, and getting blown up by a creeper. This structure is a quick way to give the audience an entry point, as well as someone to learn the world from. But outside of transmitting the video game world onto the screen, little meaning reflects onto the viewers through this pursuit. When every game movie uses the same setup, it starts to feel less like a narrative device and more like a formula. And once something becomes formulaic, it stops feeling meaningful, as it neglects the themes that enrich the immersion in new settings that isekai provides. Hollywood uses the isekai formula, but neglects all its beauty. It's like stealing a Ferrari for its catalytic converter. So, does this approach make the adaptations better? Or is it just a reliable hack to keep producing movies as simply as possible? While Hollywood is quick to isekai it, it's not the only route. The Last of Us and Arcane both demonstrate how this is not a necessity for adaptations. These series sank audiences directly into their respective worlds. There wasn't any forced exposition, nor was there some guide to break it down for you. Both presented only their story, characters, and settings, trusting you to keep up. Sure, many of these other movies in question are family-friendly movies, but that still doesn't mean you have to hold the audience hand through it. This Minecraft movie doesn't need to show mom, dad, and grandpa in the audience how crafting works, what mobs are dangerous, in a step-by-step fashion. There are other organic ways to introduce a world through the storytelling without disrupting or delaying the opportunities presented by visual storytelling. It may be off topic, but part of the reason David Lynch's Dune, which was hardly Lynch's, was considered such a bad adaptation is because there's a heavy element of explicit explanation of everything, especially as the film naturally rushed and failing to cram a 400-plus page novel into a 137-minute runtime, began to scramble to its conclusion. It feels ridiculous. The adaptation lacked organic world building. If I wanted to be fed the words and descriptions, I'll read the novel, or I'll play the audiobook. Similarly, with a video game movie using the formula, I'm asking myself, why don't I just go home and play the game instead? While isekai can be a fun and functional way to explore the idea of escapism, using it as a default template strips game adaptations of what makes them unique. It turns wildly different games into the same story, wearing a different skin. If the structure never changes, the excitement fades. What's it say about the validity and purpose of a movie if it feels like it's using a cut and paste method to formulate a narrative? Realistically, should movies like that even be made in that volume? Isn't the movie always gonna fall at least a little bit short of immersing an audience in a world the way playing the actual game does? It's a fool's errand. So even if cynically, why wouldn't they go for the simplest formula, the shortest path to an adequate profit? See, the problem with the use of isekai is it's just Hollywood siphoning money off of another thing or medium's success. Minecraft the game cost about $250,000 to make. Its film adaptation cost about $150 million. The game, which has been sold in many formats, has netted over $4.2 billion since its creation, while the movie will probably make a few hundred million. That's evidently still a lot, but in comparison, it still looks like leeching off of something else's ideas and appeals, aside from the totally original idea of throwing Jack Black in there, of course. Hollywood's really leaning into their perceived demand for nostalgia, tapping into video games, adapting them using the isekai formula. It's going in circles, reusing a formula the way that they reuse characters and worlds, by adding nothing of value to it. If they want to keep adapting games, they'll need to remember what makes those games special in the first place, and not just remain fixated on the structure that's easy to market. But even if it's not the case, the formulaic approach to storytelling begins to feel stale to audiences, they'll simply stop buying tickets and streaming rentals. Then, Hollywood would feel that there's no reason to make those movies. So Minecraft the movie could be a real test for how much further this trend of game adaptations goes in Tinseltown. While new formulas will certainly be conjured up, at least we can trust that. In the long run, it will be left to the video game creators, and even the classic board and arcade games, to provide the immersive storytelling experience. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and now I want to hear from you. So tell me, do you think Hollywood is actually doing justice to these game adaptations? Or do you feel like we're stuck in an endless loop of isekai-like storytelling? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. And if you liked the video and want to be a part of future discussions, be sure to hit that like button, tap the notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you all next time.